Face.
Good afternoon, good evening, good morning, wherever you are. Welcome to the latest edition of the LFC Delaware podcast. We are delighted to have Alicia Weiss from the Anfield Shop with us today. We are also joined, welcome Alicia, we're also joined by the usual suspect. Sounds such a cliche, doesn't it? But we have Tim, our resident German football expert, which is going to come into fine use today. We've got Sean and Charlie with their various versions of the badge. That was a conversation from a few weeks ago, if you were listening in. Okay, so we're going to start, as usual, with a couple of public service announcements, one of which is we want to talk about whatever these are called. Charlie.
Koozies, beer huggers, coolers, depending what region you're from.
Mm-hmm.
Get them while they're hot. The sales are about to go exponential, so you really want to get in sooner rather than later before the limited supply is done. And the weather's about to get more conducive to requiring such a device.
Mm-hmm. And if you really need a lot, you can also go onto the Anfield Shop website, which I'm sure we'll mention more than once, which you can order 200 at a time. Or you can mail us at lfcdelaware@gmail.com and we can send you 4. So what else is going on this week? So given we've got the Anfield Shop here, I guess we want to talk about quite a few things. We're obviously big fans of everything they do. Tried to dress up the wall today with like a bunch of stuff that we've purchased from there. If probably the hoodies probably the wrong time of year for, but that was a big hit in the fall for sure. Hopefully that will still be there next fall. And if you're listening to this podcast and you never picked up one of these, I'd be very happy if you reached out to me so I can get it to you. That's a St. Patrick's Day Liverpool hat. So we'll talk more about Anfield Shop merchandise. Want to mention quickly Catherine Rooney's, and then we'll get into our conversation with Alicia.
Yeah, so Catherine Rooney's is cycling up to get a little bit more open than they have been. Our home bar, many of you have gone and picked up curbside food and beverages from them, and they're changing their hours effective tomorrow. Monday through Thursday, I'll still just be 4 p.m. to 8 p.m. for curbside, but then Fridays noon to 9, Saturday 10:30 a.m. till 9 p.m., and Sunday 10:30 a.m. to 8 p.m. So if you've been missing your Rooney's brunch, we may not be able to offer Premier League to go with it just yet, but you can go pick up brunch there. Just check out their website. 3 ways to order: call, text, or online.
Sounds good. And if you haven't seen it, they did some kind of wonderful donation stuff. I think it was with the Gary Sinise Foundation, where they donated to the local VA hospital a whole load of meals, which I thought was just awesome. It probably was our most liked post of the last week. So obviously some people were paying attention to that. Okay. So let's get going. So Alicia, let's start kind of big picture. How did your Liverpool story start? How did you become a fan of the mighty Reds?
It probably was Istanbul for me. I think, kind of flirted with soccer a little bit in college, but it was just so hard to watch. You had Fox Soccer and maybe one game a week. And I ended up going down to South Africa for a work study thing. And it was Euro 2004. And I remember being in a bar down there and there was like a TV like this tiny. And the entire place was just glued to this TV. And so, you kind of contrast that with your experience stateside where it's rowdy and people are like half paying attention. And I remember that was the Euros that Wayne Rooney destroyed it. He was so young and everything else. And I knew for my next trip, I was young and single and could travel. I wanted to go to Liverpool. I was a big Beatles fan, wanted to do all the Beatle tour stuff. And I remember it was right after the Athens final, so the whole place, the whole gift shop was picked over and, everybody was super bummed because they didn't win. But I remember just getting goosebumps there, but like, what is this place? And then it's one of those teams and stories that the more you learn about it, the more you're like, this legacy is incredible. This story is incredible. And so we started 2010, simply because at the time it was hard to get stuff. Like if you wanted a hat, it was about $50 in shipping. and I was an engineer at Boeing, I was not an e-com person or anything like that. And I married a submariner. And so my commute went from about 20 minutes a day to 4 hours, and was like, this is awful. And so I came home one day and said, I want to take $1,000 and start a soccer shop. And I think my husband thought that would be the quickest $1,000 ever. And I mean, it was so bad. Like I wrote the code myself. But I think the very first person was like, when are you going to get more stuff? It was like, oh, maybe people are looking, maybe they want this. But at the time it was Adidas era. It was super hard to get jerseys. You can only sell so many keychains in a year. And then when Warrior took over, it was like, okay. And so a lot of people have asked me over the years, like, I'm a Manchester United fan. I want to do exactly what you did. I'm a Chelsea fan. And it's like, guys, I Forrest Gumped my way through this. Like there is no rhyme or reason. It was lucky breaks, and we started doing more apparel. And then you guys would be like, hey, we love it, but the fit is kind of not what we're used to. Can you make your own? And then kind of grew into that. And then our last big growth was about 2 years ago. We bought this printer about the size of a Volkswagen that just eco-friendly, water-based inks, totally awesome, ramping up. So the last 2 years, wow, my story is like all over the map, but Champions League final, keep growing. And then # 2 games to go. And then it just went swan dive off a cliff for the last couple months. But yeah, that's 10 years in a nutshell.
So if you've noticed that, obviously, as with many places, that everything shutting down kind of shut people's pocketbooks down too?
Yeah. And almost you kind of agree with it, because it's like, Liverpool merchandise is important, but make sure, pay rent. You don't really want to push. What we're selling is not really essential stuff. But, we're lucky to be in a small town where there's a lot of people kind of at a local level who kind of need stuff. So we've done t-shirt fundraisers and stuff, just, pivot a little bit, but we're definitely ready to be back talking all things Liverpool and coming up with stuff. But the club throughout all this has been amazing. They sent us some lovely emails, and we're continuing to work on projects. We've done some stuff with Delaware, done some stuff with Baltimore. But yeah, it's definitely, I would say, down about 80%.
Wow. Okay.
So, I mean, it's a big one, but we're small enough, agile enough to kind of just tread water for a little bit. So,
yeah. So at the very least, then, if anyone's watching this and they've got some spare money and they're thinking about what are they going to wear when we do win the league title, then.
Yeah, I mean, we've signed up with Nike. So if anybody's like, I don't really want to buy anything right now, I get it, because there's not anything that's happened. But we've got gift certificates if people want to sort of put away, if you're going to buy that kit, it certainly, we're ready for you, and we'll have everything when that goes. So
yeah. So we had a whole conversation about the leaked kit design a couple of weeks ago, and I don't think we got to a conclusion, but there was the teal wasn't universally loved, I think it's fair to say, in the designs that were leaked out there. But probably everyone will buy it anyway, so they should probably buy the gift cards.
Yeah. I can't talk about anything because I signed the biggest NDA ever. So I don't want to get in trouble about anything that may or may not be real. I will say, though, that I have always been pleasantly surprised that in person things are better than leaked images.
Yeah.
Except for maybe the Warrior white one, which the ugly sweater one, that one was
just. Oh,
yeah.
Yeah. What about the purple and black one? That was.
Yeah.
Yeah. It was very like lacrosse-y, wasn't it? It wasn't soccer. Yeah.
I think we voted the purple and black one was the worst, actually.
Oh, really?
I think that was the consensus, yeah. We had a whole stream going on, and generally at the end people would say, yeah, but it's not as bad as this, and it would be the purple one. Yeah.
Nice.
Yeah.
What did you guys see the leaked New Balance ones, the ones that could have been?
No.
Okay.
A few months ago, right?
I think some have appeared on eBay, and I think I'm okay to say that, yes, that is what we were shown, because it's not a thing. So there were some interesting color combinations. I love the detailings they did on the back of the badge. So if you see that, they actually had like a little part of the "You'll Never Walk Alone." So, I mean, New Balance did a great job of really listening to fans and incorporating some details, but Nike is Nike. So
Yeah, when you were mentioning like how hard it was to get things when Adidas was the sponsor, I imagine Nike coming in, will that make it even easier to get stuff here in the US than New Balance was?
I don't know. I do know that when, sorry, I'm repeating what I'm saying in my head to make sure that I don't get in
Sorry,
trouble.
let's not talk about it anymore.
No, I think so. When we ordered New Balance, we would order a year in advance, and a lot of seasons, most of the seasons, sight unseen. So we would know what the color was, and so when we got the purple kit, and we freaked out because we were like, nobody's gonna wear purple, and that ended up being like the most popular, couldn't ever get it kind of thing ever. Nike's ordering is more frequent.
Okay.
So I'm excited from like, hey, maybe we're not going to have as many supply chain challenges as we have. It's they're keeping things very tight to their vest, and so we haven't seen a lot. But I mean, I'm excited. They paid a lot of money for it, so I think they're really going to put their best foot forward, and they are listening. I think a lot of fans were like, don't give us templates, and we want something unique. And New Balance raised the bar on that one, so. It's a long time, so maybe if people don't like the first go round, there's more, but I'm excited. This is a kit change, and equipment provider change is always a big deal. And then you've got, lots of new stuff happening with the club, with the new training facility. I mean, I'm going to miss Melwood, but I mean, everything's kind of going world class across the board over in Merseyside.
Yeah. That new training facility looks amazing.
Doesn't it look cool?
I mean, I haven't been able to read too much about it, but I know when they first announced it, I was like, wow, this is,
Did you guys read the piece actually? So we're going to pivot away from shirts so we don't, you don't get into trouble for saying the wrong thing. But just as an aside, did you see the article? It was a very negative article in The Athletic about the fact that the women's team, there was no space for the women's team at Kirby, the new facilities.
Oh,
I don't know
really?
if it's true, but it was a really just, it was it wasn't written by the regular, like James Pierce or Cy Hughes.
Was it recently?
Yeah, in the last, it was since the stay-at-home started. Yeah.
Oh, I'll have to look that up. I thought the whole point was they wanted sort of everybody together.
Yeah, it felt like someone was kind of had an agenda about Liverpool's treatment of their women's team, but so let's not go down that.
An agenda against Liverpool? I don't know. You must be mistaken.
Yes. Lot of, actually, we haven't even talked about this, right? Have we? The whole. So we'll come back to some Anfield Shop questions, but this is the week where Null and Void went away, isn't it?
Yeah. Yeah.
How we feel about that?
Was it ever really here, or was it just conjecture from people who were had a lot to lose?
Right, from Brighton, West Ham.
I never got the sense that it was like a legitimate issue for the people making decisions, but the thing that annoyed me the most is you had these guys like Rio Ferdinand going out there and promoting it, and I don't know, that's just, I think more than anything else, people just used it to try to wind up Liverpool fans, I don't know. It didn't seem to me like they ever were really seriously considering that at a real level, people actually making the decisions.
Yeah.
Well, I guess that one of the things is that until they said it's absolutely off the table, then that allowed every kind of dumb Twitter user to kind of use the powers that they had to, kind of inveigh upon Liverpool and its potential success. So.
Yeah, and I mean, if we're honest, is anything off the table at this point? I mean, really?
Yeah.
It slid again a week, didn't it? Didn't they push it back?
The
Josh
12th or the 19th, I've heard recently.
Yeah.
A Friday night, they're going to do one Friday, one Monday, 4 each Saturday and Sunday, and presumably midweek games too. But so it's just conjecture. It's one possibility after the other. This one's looking like it might be a possibility. So hey, enjoy the show, because we're all clearly interested in the outcome, but take everything with a grain of salt, because it's a very fluid situation.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. We're going to pivot back to the topic in hand. Sorry for the detour. So how do you land on new products? Because you do have quite a collection, like, of T-shirts, of which we've got a couple of examples.
Yeah, so we've tried to, we have a license on categories that we thought were sort of just American enough that we kind of wanted the ball. So when it comes to like car accessories, you know, you're not going to see a license plate frame in the UK. So we've done some decals, so we'll probably do a lot more of that. Apparel, and then pet accessories, and we've got to get pet accessories back up, because that is like the number one most common thing, is like, get me more stuff for my pets. And it's pretty tricky, because you know, you're dealing with all the safety constraints, and we don't want to make anything where somebody gets sick. I love watching the fans and seeing what you guys have. So if I see a picture of you at the pub, I'm kind of being like, well, what's missing? You know, we count on the players to provide a lot of the personality. You know, you mentioned before the karma, the yoga pose and stuff like that.
Yep.
Mostly it's trying to tell the story of the season and the team through products. That's ultimately why we do what we do. So if there's a cool storyline, and that's been hard on the years that, you know, there hasn't been necessarily a lot to celebrate. Yeah. It's a lot easier to kind of sing when you're winning a little bit, but.
Right. Mm-hmm. So you're in good shape for a couple of years. That
hashtag pandemic. That's what I mean. It was like, we were so close.
Yeah, so I guess kind of, I'm not sure if there's a bigger picture or bigger view of small picture, but it sort of feels like this team is not going to stop winning things at the end of this year. But as long as we have seasons to play, then
yeah.
It's
just been fun. I mean, I grew up a military kid, so I never lived any place longer than 3 years. And so whenever I moved someplace, like if I could wear the uniform, you know, I felt like part of the team. And I love the fact that that's so much of what this team represents to fans. And I feel like an absolute nerd for wearing blue, because I don't feel part of this podcast team right now. Mm-hmm. But, you know, you ask about products. I'm trying to just make it, you know, a teeny tiny percent better, teeny tiny percent more fun. Fill the holes. There's a lot of very talented companies out there making products. There's new stuff. But yeah, tell the story. Am I rambling too much? I've never done one of these before. No. So
and if it makes you feel any better, Alicia, I recently bought a Firmino jersey off your website, and I totally forgot to put it on today.
Oh, okay.
I was scrambling to try to get up from a nap with my daughter, and I just grabbed the first one I could find.
No, it was like I said, talked before. It's like that jersey just brings me back to a different time of just, man, Jamie Carragher yelling at people and.
Yeah, I guess it wasn't like the best time, the post Rafa years, but you know, it was. I don't know. It was kind of when it was when I first got, I guess, very passionate about the team. Was the very end of Rafa, and then the whole Hicks and Gillette fiasco, and you know.
So there's definitely no way they can call you a bandwagon jumper if those were the years that you were.
That's true, right?
Coming on board.
Actually, I mean, the Hicks and Gillette thing really. I mean, I had started to get into it a little more before that, but yeah, that really like got me fired up for some reason. I just hated what was happening to the club under them, and you know, and the supporters kind of rallied around against them, and fortunately FSG came in and saved the day, sort of, you know.
Well, you mentioned, I think, Brian, were you going to meet with Brian Reed? Is it Reedy? I don't know.
Oh, no, we weren't. We'd love
okay.
To. Yeah.
No, you talk about the Hicks and Gillette era. He came out with those books that I thought were the great, you know, sort of, here's what you might not have seen on the mainstream side of things. And I remember reading the books, and, you know, you kind of paint a picture of how things are through, you know, articles from the Echo, but to kind of see how bad things were at the time.
Yeah.
So I think one of the books is An Epic Swindle, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. If you haven't read that, if you're listening.
There you go. We just got a book recommendation without even asking for it.
Yeah.
So we have that on the list, and we never cover it, actually.
Paul's always good on the book recommendations. That sounds like a good one.
Brian Reed, Epic Swindle. Yeah, it's good. It's good. Yeah, definitely. Yeah, and you kind of look at where we are now, and it's quite unbelievable.
Yeah.
So we're going to pivot a little bit and talk about. So we can talk about your social media game. So one of the challenges we're putting out there, James, is that we want to at least hit 200 views for this particular podcast. So we're looking to you to really step it up.
They're throwing down the gauntlet, James, just so you know.
Yeah. I think 206 was the peak we reached for another one. So, yeah, in case you need another target.
Yeah, no, James, I think we were a team of 5. And, you know, as the shop kept growing and people, you know, more orders, more stuff, it was like, okay, we need somebody to handle social. And we had somebody reach out from OLSC New Haven and was like, I got this guy. You know, he's young, he's graduating with his master's in marketing, he's a former player. I mean, his story is incredible. He was playing for Tranmere as a kid. I mean, I think he had a trial at United. Oh wait, I don't know if it was United. I don't think he would ever, as a Scouser, ever go to United, but I think he offered it.
Seems unlikely. I think you've besmirched his reputation there.
I know. Part of me is like, can you edit this thing? Because I don't know. I know Tranmere is correct.
We'll go with Tranmere.
There you go.
Good.
And he just was, you know, we were nothing. We're kind of this little bootstrap company. And he was like, whatever hours, I'll take it. And he's just done such a phenomenal job. And the banter that he has with fans and the humor. And, you know, it was my birthday yesterday and he got Sheamus from the WWE to record. I mean, the stuff that he can come up with is just, wow. He's a good egg. And then the last tour, we were going to do a pop-up, trying to do a pop-up, didn't work out. And so I kind of just sent him a box of merch and said, James, you're going on tour, you know, plastered his photo everywhere. And he kind of hit up all the spots in the matches. And so, yeah, we love him. It's difficult because he's in Connecticut and we're in Seattle, but you know, especially now we're seeing that with Zoom and with everything else, you make it work. And he is one of the most passionate fans I've ever met. So we're very lucky to have him.
Just to let you know, he was in the 11th Street Bar when I saw him. But
oh, was he? Okay.
No one else, which is where the home of the LFC NY, by the way. But,
was he steady on his feet or having a good time?
You're probably asking the wrong person. I don't know.
It's hard to be steady on your feet in that bar. It's a tiny place.
That's true.
You know, there's not much room, but
so and there's complete oversight because I did see that it was your birthday, so I was going to start by saying happy belated birthday.
Oh yeah, thank you. The big 3-8. So
well,
yeah.
Remember it well.
Yeah.
Nice.
Yeah. Moving on.
Paul doesn't want to talk about it.
No, not at all. So what does a match day look like for you then? Do you have kind of any sort of rituals or groups you get together with?
Sorry, that's my dog in the background. Josh just walked in.
Rituals.
It's, you know, the matches for us are mornings. I mean, Josh is an amazing cook. He has a lucky jersey that he puts on. So we're normally just all kind of huddled around the TV. For the big ones, we try and get everybody from the shop together, the cup finals and stuff. Kiev was so sad to have a party and have it end like that. But Madrid was a whole lot of fun. Yeah. But it's changed over the years. You know, for many, many years, our kids are 8, 6, and 4. It was early mornings, throw on a jersey. I mean, my kids have every single kit ever because it was like, this is what we're doing on Saturday mornings. It's no Saturday morning cartoons. It's Saturday morning Liverpool.
Yeah.
Indoctrination, I found, is very important.
Yes. But we go over to the Seattle group when we can. It's a ferry ride over, so it's a little bit of an early morning. But yeah, when we were down in San Diego, we used to go hang out with the crew over at Princess Pub. They're a great little group. So whenever we can get together, we do. When we were, Josh's parents live in Virginia, so we went to the Charlottesville group for a match, and that was fun. Yeah. We're trying. A lot of people have asked us, can you come and do pop-ups? And I thought, man, that would be fun to do, like a little road trip and just drive around. And but, you know, who knows? As the club grows and there's more fans and there's more, you know, we just want to break even. We'll go anywhere. We just, you know.
So, I mean, just thinking out loud, the Anfield Rap was supposed to come to our pub.
That's right.
At the end of March. They say they're going to look at, like, basically redoing the tour at some point whenever makes sense. So I don't know if that's an opportunity.
No, they're great guys. I don't, you know, maybe we're the opening act for them. Maybe we'll be the.
I think I smell a collaboration T-shirt is what I saw.
We've done some work for them. They're they're good. They've grown so much, man. They started off with really kind of humble beginnings, and now, I mean, the content and the stories are just incredible of what they're doing.
Yeah. Yeah, I thought the
Funny
show
that you
on What's
mentioned-
Next. I'm sorry, I was going to say that I thought the show on What's Next was just like at a completely different level from the conversation that's gone on in even the serious press. Like it was really, really thoughtful. So we're detouring again, aren't we? So
I was going to say when Alicia was mentioning pet apparel, and actually the one piece of pet apparel I have is from the Anfield Wrap. They have a leaf that says "You'll never walk alone," and I just thought it was too good of a pun because my dog will never walk alone because she's so terrible.
Liverpool came out when we launched ours. They didn't have any pet apparel, and we just did like a branded Liverpool FC, and they came out with theirs, and it was "You'll never walk alone," and I was like, how did we miss that? How did we miss that? Like that was like right in front of us. So yes, but now I feel guilty because I'm like, if I do it, am I copying? Like we try and be original, we try and be a little different. But yeah, you won't make fun of me if we come out with the "You'll never walk alone" for pet stuff.
I'll buy it. That's all I'll do.
Okay.
That's great. Great. So we don't want to touch on masks, do we?
I'm happy to say the party line. I mean, we've told the club demand. We've said, this is a product people. I mean, every form you guys can ask us, whether it's social, email, like. Okay. But from the last thing I heard, and remember, stuff changes, so it might change, and it's only as good as this moment in time. Was that it wasn't a product category they wanted to pursue. Yeah. Typically, if they find for a good cause, obviously they have a lot of fun. Liverpool is hit super hard. I think outside of London, it's the number 2 city. So I would hope that if there was a way to do something for charity, sell masks where it goes to the NHS, do something. Yeah. But yeah, there's so much counterfeit stuff out there. And it's not good. You don't know where it's coming from. And it's also people ripping off the club IP, but I mean, they're everywhere. They're being advertised, and the club's trying to shut them down as quick as they see them. But anything you see on the open market is fake. There's nothing official.
Good point to make.
Yeah. But you did observe something in your extensive Bundesliga watching this weekend, right, Tim?
I actually was like trolling you behind your back to Paul because I had watched when you did the tour of the shop a couple weeks ago. I was the official Delaware representative there. And so masks were already, that was like the top of my question list, and the questions didn't come off. But watching
no questions. It was like the most embarrassing thing ever because I was like, okay, this is going well.
Watching this weekend, the way that they've set everything up with the Bundesliga is all the reserves from the team are sitting 6 feet apart in the stands. So instead of in regular reserve benches, and they're all wearing masks, and most of them had team branded masks with their logo on it. So it made me wonder when and if and when EPL starts back up, will Liverpool then say, well, we need masks now because we want our guys to be wearing the Liver Bird or the
New Balance's contract is everything on the pitch. So, I mean, that's why you've seen, the undershirts are under New Balance. I mean, it's all, so I don't know if they did wear them, if they'd have to.
The last hurrah for New Balance, maybe, right? They can.
Yeah. But I mean, you're seeing every league here is doing them, Major League Baseball, everybody's doing official ones.
Yeah.
Which, as a complete aside, I saw a picture from the Spanish flu in, what was it, 1918, 1919? And I didn't know they played Major League Baseball and all the players during the games wore masks.
Really?
Fun fact.
Oh, wow.
I don't think it would work for football, but
that's trivia fact of the day. That's pretty awesome.
That is.
Thank you.
Thank you, Tim.
And that's all we have to say about that.
Yeah. So what else would you like to share with us about kind of where you are? Obviously, we'll do our best to encourage people to go back and buy shirts to sell. So you'll be doing shirts, obviously, to celebrate us winning the league, he says.
Yes.
Getting ahead of himself, obviously.
Yes, if that happens.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We're going to win the league.
Yes, we will be so ready with product if that happens. There's going to be, oh God, see, this is where you're going to get me in trouble again. So, yes, we are anxious and excited for the return of the league. And I got to say, though, I've designed 3 ranges that never happened. You know, there was like a Kiev winners range that never saw the light of day. There was a winners for the last season. So those stink to make when they get thrown away. But yes, no, we've seen some cool stuff in work. And so product wise, I don't think they've announced the Nike Street date yet. So that is something that we, you know, all that stuff comes from the club and we get told pretty much around the same time everybody else is. So I don't know if they're going to push it out. You know, if it's still, I don't know. It'll be hard because obviously people want to buy Nike, but then the league hasn't been decided. It's like, well, what color's the patch, right? Like what is that? But we, you know, we've got a full custom shop. So if people want it now, you can always send it back in later. We discontinued the box because that was getting kind of too big, too tricky. And we actually did that before all the pandemic happened. So that was maybe a blessing in disguise.
Right.
We wouldn't have had nothing to talk about.
Time.
Right. But let's see, new products coming through the works. There's a new company called Signables that has these cute little disc things. They're on the site, just with little pre-printed signatures on them. You can use the goal is to kind of use them as to get signed. So, you know, like another tour or stuff like that. 47 brands operations are down because they're part of they're not essential. So headwear, you might see a long time before, you know, kind of the supply chain comes back, everything else.
Will the 47 contract continue after New Balance go away?
I don't know.
Okay. Right.
What you've seen is that Klopp had his own deal with New Balance. So he would wear, you know, he would never really wear a 47 cap. I think there's a couple pictures of him wearing one. Because anytime he wears stuff, I get emails of like, I want whatever Jurgen's wearing.
Yeah, I got one.
I feel like doing one of those like celebrity things of like spotted on Jurgen. You too can. But I don't know. I've seen plans, whether or not that's been sort of changed around or how we're doing stuff. We do have a really big shipment coming from the club via boat right now of more barware stuff. So if you really liked those rubber bar runners and pint glasses and all that good stuff, that's coming in. But yeah, we've been pretty light. So if people haven't been shopping, it's not, you're not hurting my feelings because we've all been waiting for, you know, something to celebrate.
Mm-hmm.
But
I think we had people talking about buying replica shirts. Actually, that was one of the things. They seem in short supply. Is that right?
So we have, for the one you have behind you, the signature collection in black, we have size large left, and that's it. So if you want anything kind of with that's almost gone. There's no Champions League stock. So Champions League stock being stuff without the Western Union.
Yeah.
That's the only difference. So if you want any Premier League, we are pretty good on home. We're okay on away. We just got a shipment in of third. Training's pretty much gone and on its way out. Not a whole lot of the baby youth stuff. So it is sort of last call if you do want anything of the New Balance era, just because we don't have that much.
Okay.
Any of the green keeper kit, asking for a friend.
That was not released stateside. There are quite a few pieces. New Balance US ordering and UK, two totally different things. So if all of us as US retailers don't order enough of something, it just doesn't make that buy. So typically you'll see all the Champions League training range never gets released here. For the baby, kind of the newborn to 7 years, only the home was released here. So there's different, like we try and order everything. We want to stock everything, but there are kind of some limits.
Wow. Okay. So if we wanted like a 86 Crown Paints shirt, then we need to create the demand for that rather than look for it. Is that the
club has really doubled down on retro recently, bringing back all that great stuff. And I'm showing my age that Istanbul stuff is now considered retro.
Oh, man. Yeah,
right?
I love a Crown Paint. I like that shout though, Paul. Crown Paints. That's one of my favorites.
Yeah, but every twice a year the retail group has a conference, and most of the partners are in Asia. So I've been 3 times to Asia in the past year and a half, and there's more retro being reintroduced. So yeah, it really does come from you guys to be like, this, because I think it used to be that, look, we only want to do stuff where there was a big cup win in it, something to celebrate. But the Liverpool style over the years is so unique and classic that you tell them.
The other thing that was on my list for that event where we were supposed to ask questions was a retro kit, and we have a fellow who's a particular fan of a large lanky man named Peter Crouch, and so he would really love a Peter Crouch personalized retro jersey. So I don't know if that's something you can look into. I just made one guy in Delaware very happy by asking that question.
He probably ordered 10 of them, by the way. So,
like not a player t-shirt, like a proper Peter Crouch.
Yep.
Okay.
Yep.
Yeah, like if they did retro jerseys, it was a way to like personalize the retro jerseys.
I've asked about that, like for the lettering. I'll follow up on that because a lot of people have asked to have those personalized. And I've always lived in like, wait, you want the Premier League stuff on it? Like, is that weird that it's... Okay, I'll ask. I can always
just to let you know, he has ordered, we think, at least like a Norwich and a Southampton. Was it Southampton or
Stoke?
Peter Crouch shirts because they're available.
Does he know Peter personally?
Wasn't it Stoke?
Yeah, something
trying to stop him from buying a Stoke kit. I mean,
mind you.
I think I mentioned previously.
Order a current Liverpool shirt with Crouch on the back. You can do that.
Crouch always reminds me of those balloons on the side of the road with the arms that go all over. Yeah, you can make a miniature one of those with Crouch's name on the back.
Oh my gosh! So it's weird with rights because we can make anything on current squad, but once they move to another club, that their image rights are I don't know how it works with him not being with anybody, but I'll ask.
Okay. All right. So we really are asking for a friend. So Tucker, if you're listening, which I hope you will be, then we did our best.
Hey, James, you're my backup on that if you're watching this.
So I guess we're going to wind down with a few of the Facebook themes. But do you have any questions for us about like kind of other mad ideas apart from Peter Crouch shirts that we might have for future?
No, I think, we try and do probably about this time every year, because normally this time of the year is kind of the end, kind of the State of the Union. How are we doing? How can we be doing better? The club shop has gotten absolutely incredible over the years, like in the amount of stuff. And so we're not, we're always very aware to not copy what they're doing, to offer something a little different. But when it comes to, hey, Liverpoolify this, this is the style that I wear every day. I would love to, because so much of it changes that I think for us, I'm constantly wanting feedback from you guys. What are we doing well? Where do we need to improve? And you're not going to hurt my feelings because I love it when I get to make you guys happy and see you guys all cheery and in the club. Like when people take the shirts and bring them to Anfield and take selfies at Anfield, that is Christmas to me. That's the coolest thing ever. So it's constantly wanting to see how we're doing and what we can do better.
Mm-hmm. Well, I know we'll actually, after this, we should probably put out some kind of poll about on the Facebook page about stuff that people might be interested in. Yeah. We definitely do that. So I'm kind of looking at all sorts of agenda, and the one thing that's jumping out at me actually is the fact that we do it on this day in history on our Facebook page. We've had a lot of them recently, obviously, with I think there was the Steven Gerrard Cup final, the Cup final that Michael Owen happened to win. Of course, we don't refer to as the Michael Owen Cup final because we're not that big with him anymore. But actually, in this last week and a half was Peter Crouch's last game for Liverpool.
Oh,
wow!
Yeah. Wow!
So the tie-in.
So I guess one of the things is not everyone needs to kind of chime in, but what memory of that you've seen that someone's put out there kind of struck you the most in terms of what's happened? I guess in the first half of May. And by the way, we're going to talk next week about what happened, the anniversaries in the second half of May, like Istanbul and Rome and maybe some other thing that happened last year in Madrid. So,
Oh, Charlie went on vacation. Right on.
Charlie was in Madrid just as a. Yeah.
Oh, were
That's
you
short
really?
notice. I was, and
Oh, that's
actually,
cool.
now that you mention it, I caught a flight back with Seamus, and
Oh, did you really?
I met him in Carolina at the security gate, so that was pretty cool. He's an unmistakable fella, but very nice guy.
Yeah. I don't think he knew he was going until like James has struck up a great little friendship with him, and all of a sudden it was like, yeah, he's going, and like he was on a plane in 2 hours. I think so many fans were just like, should we go? Should we go? And then so many of you guys were like, let's go, forget it.
Yeah, that was my thought. Was I was at Rooney's, the Delaware OLSC Delaware hangout to watch that Barcelona game at Anfield, and it was such an amazing experience that I said, I may well not get into the stadium in Madrid, and I did not, but it didn't matter. I was there, and
That's awesome.
to be celebrating for the weekend. And then, hey, the icing on the cake was chatting with Seamus on the way through Charlotte on the way back. So that was.
Did
cool.
you find some place to sleep, or did you just make it up as you went along?
I got an Airbnb. I paid
Okay.
through the nose for it, but it was a 5-minute walk from Puerto de Sol, which was one of the major areas.
Wow.
So I landed on my feet. It became fairly apparent that $2,000 wasn't going to get me a ticket to the stadium, which was my rough budget. So at that point, I thought, all right, I might as well get a decent place to stay and just enjoy it. So I did.
Well, that's cool.
Great. Yeah.
Cool.
So wonderful memory. We can recap that next week as well when we talk about things that happen at the end.
I feel like I talk about my trip to Madrid on every single podcast. Any regulars are totally sick and tired of hearing about it.
So I'd not heard the Seamus
I didn't
story.
know that whole story. Yeah, I didn't know that. That was
No. So there are more elements that we're hopefully saving something up for next week and the week after.
Yeah, I like to change my story a little bit every time I tell it. Yeah, it gets better and better.
So one thing that did happen this weekend, and maybe this is a richer scene, was the Bundesliga returned.
Yeah.
So interested in people's perspectives. We'll start with Tim, given he is an authority on German football. What did you make of it, Tim?
It's funny because one of the things on Facebook page, someone had brought up something about it. And I'm a RB Leipzig guy. So not the official Reds of the Bundesliga. They're those other guys that pay for any player they want. But so I watched my match, and I thought the sound was great. Sean had mentioned that he watched a bit of the Dortmund game, and it sounded like an empty stadium, just like echoes going all around. I thought in the Leipzig match, I thought it sounded great. Like the guys were all yelling at each other. And I don't know if it's because it's a newer stadium financed by Red Bull, that they're able to like create it almost like the Seahawks stadium where the sound kind of circles back on itself. But that sounded great. But then watching some of the other matches, you've definitely been aware of the fact that it's just plain empty in there. But I don't think the competition suffered from it. The matches that I've watched, were played hard the whole 90 minutes through. Yeah. That's my takeaway.
The most awkward thing was the celebrations.
Yeah, the celebrations were weird. Right? But Klopp actually said something about that. It was like today or yesterday I saw online that none of us started playing football because of the crowds. We play because we love the game. And I've never bought into that whole thing about like the games not being I'm sure the crowds do. Obviously the crowds affect the play, but I don't know. I that part of it's never hit me, but yeah, I was only able to like tune in for about 10 minutes. I just wanted to see, live sports, and I didn't have time to watch anything else. But the Dortmund game, it hit me that like you could hear how empty the stadium was, and like the fact that there are no fans there don't really bother me at all. But it just seemed to me like there should be something they can do with the broadcast sound so that that like echo isn't there.
We turned down those giant like microphones there.
It's true. But
sure you can adjust.
Sean, they're not getting much opportunity to test this. This was the first time. Like, give them a break, man. Come on.
I noticed it in the PSG game. It was a Champions League game, I think, right before everything shut down, and I remember it being like that in that game too.
Yeah, that was the one where all the fans gathered outside.
Yeah.
But, Alicia, did you watch any of the Bundesliga games?
We watched a little bit. It was weird. We watched the Bayern game, but they weren't in red, so I kept getting tripped up because normally you're used to seeing them in red. The Sounders play in the Seahawks Stadium, and so they don't sell out typically. So what they do is they put like a little tarp around. Mm-hmm. So they need to do something so it doesn't look so empty.
That's a good thought. Yeah.
You know what I mean? And so I thought I loved it to be like, oh wow, you can hear them shouting at each other and kind of getting a little bit more of that strategy. But it was just such a bummer seeing the empty seats.
Yeah, that's one of the good things about the Leipzig ones is their arena. They were home for their first one, and there's no seats down to the pitch. So all the way around the pitch, there's like about a 10 to 15 foot high wall that just has Red Bull branding on it.
There you go.
But when you look at it, you don't see empty seats. You just see that.
Well, the mannequin industry could get a real shot in the arm now. We could need 40,000 mannequins for every stadium in Europe.
Yeah.
What they said they were going to do something and broadcast in everybody can Zoom call, shout it at the players.
That would be cool, right? And amplify the voices so you literally have crowd noise. I had that thought. That would be interesting.
I thought it'd be cool for like the VR community. Like this is your moment to kind of, because they've done it in basketball a little bit, right? Like put you down at center court where you can look and control your view. I don't know. There could be some innovative stuff coming out of all this.
Someone in the Premier League should be listening to this podcast. James.
I'm sure James will handle that for us.
Yes.
Yeah, send it along. Yeah.
I'm sure they wouldn't have any trouble finding like a group of, say, like 50 fans who would quarantine themselves for the rest of the season just to be like the clean fans that could sit together and cheer and bang a drum or shoot off flares. I don't know.
Oh, you don't think they'd get drunk with power?
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, they'd be getting drunk by themselves going to the stadium.
Yeah.
Yes, but I definitely did watch because like Sean, I missed sports.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So did there were a couple of Liverpool players playing this weekend? Not now Phillips. I'm
not sure if Bundesliga 2 started up again.
I don't know. Well, he's not on. So we had this confusion about where Nate Phillips was on loan to. Turns out it's Stuttgart, who was in Bundesliga 2. So he was never appearing. I think I might have started the confusion. But we did have, so there was obviously Grujic was playing for Hertha Berlin yesterday. And
he was dominant.
The Liverpool sourced match report said he was he stole the show. He
basically created every chance according to whatever article I read. But it was one of the least successful socially distant celebrations on one of the goals. Because the one guy, Boyata, who played for Celtic last season, now plays for, I forget what team.
Hertha, isn't it?
Oh, it's Hertha, because they scored a goal and there was a photo of Boyata basically kissing Marko Grujic on the cheek. May not be the exact epitome of social distancing.
Social distance fail. And of course, the Liverpool on loan striker, we believe it's Awoniyi, maybe?
Taiwo to his friends.
Taiwan.
From Nigeria. I don't. So we did some minor research. I don't believe he's ever played for the first team, but he's been on loan forever at different places. Scored his first goal.
Currently playing for Mainz, who is a team pretty important to Jurgen Klopp.
So I'm pretty sure Jurgen was watching that one, right?
Yeah.
Probably.
On that note, we're going to close it with our usual closing topic of the most interesting Liverpool-related thing you came across this week. We'll start with Alicia. Unless you want time to think.
I need time.
Oh.
I'd find a good one. Yeah.
Well, I can lead off with.
Okay.
I was fortunate enough to hear to be part of a call where Jose Enrique was on this week, and it was a call the club had set up, and he was talking about his experience playing for Liverpool, like the injuries he suffered and the brain tumor that he's come through, and he just came across as just this lovely man. But the thing that I found the most amusing was how he had no trouble in basically sharing with this whole audience of supporters clubs that Alberto Moreno could barely speak any English, which I've told several people about that, and they, everyone's like, oh yeah, of course, it's kind of obvious really, but it probably does explain some of what happened in Moreno's years at Anfield, if he had trouble listening to whatever he was supposed to be doing. Anyway, so that's my I'll be Moreno
takeaway. My takeaway that I saw this morning, first thing upon waking up, is this photo on my Instagram of one of my favorites, Andrew Robertson and Virgil van Dijk, and the quote is just, "It's almost time." I don't know if that's a present photo or if that's just him thinking hopefully, but I have heard that the Premier League is training, is getting back to doing some training. Perhaps not hugging each other during training, but it's getting
no kissing.
No kissing.
Well, Sean O'Neill, an ITK guy that I know, tells me that Koulibaly and Werner and Sancho are all Anfield bound in this next off season, whenever that is. So
Wow.
news,
Sancho might be a little bit of a
is
stretch.
done.
Sancho might be a little stretch, but
we should also
sell Mane to Real Madrid for that one.
Yeah. We should also point out that Sean's source was the Daily Express, which I think is lower than, what is it, like Absolute Lies on the list of credible sources?
Yeah, Literal Lies
Lies
is tier 5, and this is just banned with another publication that we're not even going to mention. So good job digging that one out, Sean. I tell you, put your money on that.
We gotta talk about something, right?
No, mine
Sure,
yeah. Thing for the day, and I'm going to do a horrible job paraphrasing. Was just what the quote he had about Gary Neville. I thought that was a fantastic quote.
Yes,
oh yeah. He always,
just that the one thing I learned in this quarantine is that Gary Neville has an opinion about everything.
That was it. Yeah, that's pretty close.
Yeah.
Somebody had posted the actual interview on our Facebook page.
Oh, okay.
Something on Twitter that was just a meme with that, and I was like, I don't know if that's true, but I want it to be true.
Yeah.
And apparently,
that's true. I did not fact check that if he did not say that, or if that's.
Yeah, no, it was because this
is it okay.
Our group posted the actual audio of the interview.
Okay.
Yeah.
That feels like a great place to end, actually.
With Gary Neville.
Gary Neville has an opinion on everything. Yes, love it. So we'll sign off. Alicia, thank you so much for joining us. This was a lot of fun. Hope we kept you interested for.
Thank you for letting me ramble. And I think I showed you guys what we'll be sending, so you can give it away.
Oh,
thank
awesome!
you.
Yes,
nice.
of course. I completely forgot this. Go ahead. Yes. Yeah. So we'll do something around that. It's a signed photo, right?
Yeah, from the Jamie Carragher Foundation. So you got your nice cert of authenticity, but it's got Stevie, it's got Jamie. I believe that's Alonso. I think we said Risa.
I assume that's Istanbul.
Yeah,
yes.
it's Istanbul. Yeah.
Oh, it's that moment right when
you had me at Stevie.
There you go. That'll be our next T-shirt. You had me at Stevie.
That's a great idea.
I'm in pre-order.
I think I have the "You Had Me at Salah" T-shirt, by the way, somewhere in my.
Nice.
But a nice one. I thank you again. Thanks to I need to come up with a more interesting description of the group than the usual suspects. Maybe I can work on that.
I like the usual. Call yourself the usual suspects of LFC Delaware.
Brain thrust.
Oh, there you go.
Oh, I like that. No, it's good. May not be true, but I like it. All right. Thank you, everybody.
All right. Thanks.
All right. Bye.